Today, we're turning Edwin's money into mods for his BMW M4 competition. But before we talk about the 22 mods we're installing in today's video, let's get you caught up to speed on Edwin's build. Now, the last time Edwin was in, we did over $18,000 in mods to make his M4 the ultimate daily driver. Starting with performance, these cars have insane potential. With a simple flash tune and a little ethanol in the tank, they're capable of over 700 wheel horsepower and running high 9-second quarter miles. Now, before you get too excited, it's not as simple as just hooking your laptop up to your car, then unlocking an additional 200 horsepower. You have to start by unlocking the computer in your car, which is where things get a little bit tricky. That's because, as it stands, there's only one company that knows how to do it, and they're on the other side of the world. So if you're like me in the USA, you have to take the $2,500 computer out of your car, ship it halfway around the world. It's expensive, it's risky, and quite frankly, it's a huge pain in the butt. So when I talked to Edwin about it, I said, is this what you want to do? He said, ain't nobody got time for that. That being said, Edwin's a simple guy and didn't want to have to mess with all that. He said, give me 100 horsepower, make sure it's easy, and make sure that it's reliable. So that's exactly what we did. We installed a Daler plug-and-play tuner right over here. It gave him 610 to the wheels on 93 octane pump gas. What more could you want in a daily driver? In the engine bay, we did a slew of carbon fiber, including this Eventuri intake that not only looks amazing, but it sounds like a fire-breathing driver. In the front, we installed a CSL-style carbon fiber grille, which goes beautifully with the rest of his OEM carbon package. In the back, we imported a Daler exhaust all the way from Germany, complete with their valve controller that allows you to override BMW's factory valve system. BMW lets the car sound like this, where with Daler, it sounds like this. Speaking of Daler, we installed their anti-theft throttle commander for pedal feel and also theft protection, in addition to some Alcantara carbon fiber and a place to put his phone. Now that you're up to speed, let's put this thing in the air and tear it apart. All right, Zach, I'm gonna disconnect the fuel line, then we're gonna pull the motor. Ready? Just kidding. Although it certainly feels like that. Take a look at how far apart we have this car. If you look in here, there's no coolers. All the coolant system is completely disconnected. The DME is out of the car. And it truly feels like we could just get our engine hoist, hook it up, and just rip this motor right out of the car. Because, well, one thing led to another, and we have some while you're there mods. Now, this whole project started with an intake manifold, and well, as you can see, we took it a bit far. Now, the problem with the stock unit is that BMW decided to integrate a charge cooler with an intake manifold. That itself is a brilliant idea, but they had terrible execution because BMW's got a thing with plastic. And what they did is they literally crimped the cooler onto, you guessed it, plastic. And what happens? Well, as you start to go over 30 PSI, you have a big risk of these separating, creating a massive boost leak. But PWR and CSF came in to save the day with their billet aluminum intake manifold with a built-in charge cooler. The whole thing is aluminum. It's not gonna break on you. And if you look over here, it comes with a fuel rail where you can add 6 additional ejectors in case you wanna run PI. Now, the biggest contributor to making sure that this is doing its job the best that it can is this big hole in the front of the car. Super controversial, but BMW put it there for a reason, for maximum cooling. You see, this is a factory heat exchanger, and the way that it works is air goes through here, it cools down coolant, which also runs through your intake manifold. So therefore, we're going to be installing an upgraded CSF heat exchanger complete with rock guards. While we're there, we're going to be installing the trans cooler, also by CSF. Why? Well, it literally bolts to the heat exchanger. So while you're there, it just makes sense. And while we're there, it just makes sense to install the upgraded Mishimoto charge pipe. As you can see, BMW is back with their thing with plastic charge pipes. They have this giant plastic charge pipe, and we're going to be upgrading it to the aluminum one from Mishimoto. And as you can see, it's kind of a super funky design, and it's even funkier to install. And that's because with the last generation M3s and M4s, the charge pipes were on top. They took like 20-30 minutes to do, and it was super easy. With the G80, no. You have to drain your coolant. Why do you have to drain your coolant to do this? So as you can see, the turbos are down here. The charge system goes out this way, and then it goes over and around, and it's bolted in 4 locations to the block of the car. Come on, BMW, it's gonna take hours to do by itself, but while you have the car all the way apart anyway, it makes sense to bulletproof it now, and you'll never have to worry about it in the future. If you're familiar with the S58 engine, you'll know that BMW conveniently put the oil filter in the back of the manifold. Now you can remove this with the manifold installed. Everything's wide open, so I'm going to swap out his oil filter quick while it is as easy as it will ever be on this car. At this point, the manifold is fully installed, and it is now time to fill this thing up with some liquid moly oil and then fully fill and bleed out the coolant system. And while we're putting some new oil in, you know we're gonna put Ceratec in to make sure that that engine stays as protected to maintain maximum reliability. All right, the cooling system is installed, so now it's time to reassemble the car, but you know we can't put it back the way it was because we have more upgrades. If you take a look over here on the table, this is the factory radiator cover. BMW made it a really weird color. On my car, what I decided to do, just keep the part, but get it paint matched. And as you can see here, the wild difference. Now, 98% of people won't notice, but I think it adds a super nice subtle touch. The other way that you can go, which is what Edwin's going to do, is carbon fiber, because who doesn't love carbon fiber? So as you can see here, we have a dry carbon fiber full replacement, so let's get that installed. This engine bay is really coming together with the coolers, the carbon. There's just one thing missing, but the good thing is we have it right over here. The all-new Kies Executive Line strut brace in carbon fiber. Let's get it installed and see how good this engine bay turns out. With that, the Kies Executive Line strut brace is fully installed, and it really completes Edwin's engine bay. If you're interested in learning more about that, we have a dedicated video for you down in the description below, where we also have links to all the parts we're installing. Let's continue with some yellow DRLs, and then we'll finally put the bumper back on so this thing doesn't look like an alien anymore. right, we got the Turner skid plate back on, and now it is time to add slip flow. What slip flow does is it protects against things like this, especially if one day Edwin wants to lower the car, hint, hint, he's not going to scrape his lip going up his driveway, because what you do is you take slip flow, put it under here, and it's this like polyurethane stuff. Almost reminds me of like really, really soft skateboard wheels. And basically this is just going to stick on, go around, and protect him. So let's install it. Next, what you want to do is hold each section on for 30 seconds. 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 19, 20, 21, 22, 24, 25, 26, 27, 28, 30, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2. Now, while the car is in the air, I need to do one more thing before we can do some lighting and also some interior mods. So let's head to the back of the car and check it out. Now, as we talked about earlier, Edwin's car has the carbon exterior package from the factory, which, you know, gets you carbon here, here, and then they're like, hey, let's cheap out and put some gloss black plastic. Who wants that? So today, we're gonna upgrade this piece right here. Let's do it.
What is this?
Dude. In all my BMW days, this is a complete first. They had a plastic nut on the other side. All right, whatever, BMW. That's BMW digging through their like loose bolts drawer. That's exactly what that is. So much better already. All right, it's time to add Edwin's brand new Apex forged wheels. Let's throw them on. The wheels are on. These are the Anthracite VS5RS. These are 19 by 10 square, and I think they go really well with the Brooklyn Gray, but they're not complete without floating center caps. We like to call them spinners because as you drive, the BMW roundel always stays up. But what's special about these is they aren't the regular ones you get from BMW. These are actually painted because BMW typically has chrome on the outside, and then it's normally blue and white. For this, if you look close, it has little pieces of carbon fiber in white with the black. So little subtle differences, but they make a huge difference.
I like how you spin it every time.
It's like part of the install, you have to.
Yeah.
So when you're driving, it looks like your emblems are just staying still, which is super cool, and every time you park your car, they're always perfectly positioned for your Instagram pictures. All right, so as you can see, this car looks so good. But wait till the end because we're gonna show you the whole thing and it's gonna blow your mind. Before we get to that, I have to install these because these emblems are great, but unless you have matching ones on the outside of the car, it just doesn't look all that great. So we're gonna add the front one and then the back. Look at that. Boom. All right, now we can't do the wheels and the front bumper and not do the back. So we're gonna swap the back out with this new piece. This is a genuine BMW part that has been painted and then also carbon fiberized. And it is the entire housing. It's not just a Chinese emblem. This is legitimate. It's been a little bit modified. To do that, we're gonna have to take apart this. And if we're gonna take apart that, we might as well change out the taillights. So let's do it. GTS lights are installed, and dare I say, I think they look better on a G series than the F series. I love how these have the individual scales and it says OLED over there. It just looks so good. I don't know. I'll be honest, I wasn't really feeling them before. After seeing them, like, oh, this is one of those mods that I may need to do. With that, let's head on to the interior because we still have a ton to do. Next up, we have, yes, BMW OEM locking door pins. These thingies right here. We are going to change them from this to this, and these aren't some cheap Chinese knockoffs. These are OEM BMW. Honestly, I didn't know how to do this, so I looked up the instructions because I didn't want to break anything. And it basically says, you put a little piece of tape on here, you grab it with pliers, and you rip it off. Those are the technical directions. And then to put the new one on, it just says push. And you gotta make sure that the M is facing this way. Otherwise you did it wrong. This is funny, like, this is such a small thing. First I'm like, who would buy these? And now I'm like, where can I get these? Now the wheel that we're going to be installing today is technically for an M340i. The reason for that is, as you may have seen in my video, I have the BMW one for the G80, has a blue stripe. Everyone's like, I don't want a blue stripe, I want a red stripe. Technically, it's for the M340i, but I'm gonna show you how to make it work on a G80 too if you want a red stripe and not a blue. All right, my least favorite part of this install. I have to stick this screwdriver through the leather in his steering wheel. Here we go. Ah! It's a giant Torx.
Really?
Yeah. He's like a T50. This car is so... I have this car, and every bolt on this one is different. So here is one last look at Edwin's stock M4 wheel. It looks pretty good, but it's about to look a lot better, but there is a little bit of a challenge. You see, this wheel over here is a BMW OEM M Performance wheel, but it's technically for an M340i. I'm gonna try to make it work on Edwin's G82. Now, being that Edwin has a red interior, he wanted a BMW genuine wheel with a red stripe. He didn't want the blue stripe, which is what BMW puts on the official G80 and G82 wheel. Now, although the wheels look pretty much identical, there's one main difference. If you take a look at his stock wheel, you'll notice that on this part right here, there's a little cutout for the M button, but if we go over here to the M Performance wheel, because it's technically for an M340i, it doesn't have it, and you're like, oh no. Option one was Zach and I were going to cut it, and we decided that was going to be a terrible idea. So instead, this piece actually comes out. So if you undo this screw, this one, this one, and this one, and the same on the factory wheel, this pops out. We're going to use the top trim from the factory wheel and use it on here. Is he going to lose a little bit of Alcantara? Yes, but the rest of the steering column is going to match this dead even, so it's still going to look really good. So with that, let's get started. Oh crap, I forgot something. We have a While You're There mod. How could I forget the While You're There mod? While you've already violated the wheel and put these little holes in it, you might as well upgrade your paddle. BMW is notorious for making crappy paddle shifters. Sorry, BMW, but they're made of plastic and they have plastic pins and plastic components and they're very soft and you don't really get that positive sensation of a good shift. However, we're gonna upgrade them to these Mad Trace ones. Check this out. They're built in aluminum, carbon fiber, or they're available in aluminum, and they have the most satisfying click ever. They actually have little magnets in them. They use these on like sim racing and things like that, and this company brought them to cars, which is amazing. I have them on my G80, I have them on my F80. We put them on the F30 giveaway car as well, but just listen to that. It's so satisfying. Let's get everything switched over from here to here because as you can see, the wheels come pretty naked. Next up, we have two interior mods. One is for styling. Yes, it's more carbon fiber. And then the second is a P3 vent gauge, which is a total game changer. Let's throw them in and I'll show you what they do. Now, as we talked about earlier, Edwin has the BMW OEM carbon package and BMW did something really goofy on both the outside of the car and the inside of the car. They left one piece gloss black. On the exterior, we have carbon on the mirrors, carbon on the front, carbon on the lip, and then they leave this piece around the diffuser that's gloss black. On the inside, he has a carbon package as well. It's carbon, it's carbon, it's carbon, 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 gloss black. Wouldn't want to make it all carbon, but don't worry because today we have this piece of dry carbon that's going to go over here and complete the package. But we're not leaving it like that because we have a P3 vent gauge to install. So with that, let's install it. All right, so now that the P3 gauge and the carbon trim are installed, let's test it out. It just takes a second to load. All right, so you can see things like your coolant temperatures, you can see your throttle, you can see 0 to 60 times, boosts, you can see speed, if your speedometer stops working for any reason. You have your battery voltage, you can set up an RPM shift light, and so much more. I love these things. You can take a good look at your oil temperatures, your coolant temperatures, pretty much the main critical data that you'd ever need to see. So that's installed. Let's move on to the next thing. All right, next up, we have the full line of Alpha One speakers from BeamerTech. These completely transformed the way that the car sounds. As you may recall from an old video we did with his old M340i, which was also a Harman system, the before and the after is night and day, which is going to be with this car. So as as you can see, we have a lot to do. So let's tear on in and start upgrading. All right, the speakers are installed, and now what we're going to do is we are going to flash his transmission with an XHP Stage 1 trans flash. I have this all set up. It's gonna take probably 15 to 20 minutes or so, and then his car is gonna drive like a completely different animal. All right, everything's done. Let's power down the car, and we'll start it up and see if we have any funky errors or anything. It's normally pretty good though. No errors, we are good to go. Now, we do have one more mod to install, but we kind of realized that we need Edwin here. So we're gonna have to do this tomorrow, but this is the all new Ring dash camera. And what it does is it sits over here and then it views out and also views inside the car. You can have remote access, and then it just plugs into your OBD for power. So super simple to install, but Edwin needs to scan this little QR code to set it up to his account. And I don't wanna put it somewhere and then go to look at the screen and be like, oh, that's cool, you just see the hood of the car. I'm gonna have to wait for Edwin on this, but let's start the car for real this time and take it out and check out everything we did. As you've seen, we have done another complete transformation of Edwin's car. This time it was 22,000 in mods. Last time it was 18, bringing the mod total value on this car over $40,000. And man, does it show. He has cooling, he has carbon, he has aesthetics. Heck, he even has a full sound system and a dash camera. By the way, that dash camera is super cool. I thought it was a little janky at first, but then we actually installed it, and Edwin is an hour and a half away from us. He was remoting in, showing us pictures, showing us what the audio sounded like, and we heard him clear like he was sitting in the car next to us. Dude, it's so clear how good we can hear you right now.
I was like, let me try it. I already have a bunch of cameras in the Ring ecosystem anyway, so I was like, might as well, you know, it's a good investment.
Heck yeah. Dang, Edwin does this all the time. He gets these new mods, and I feel like I need one for my car, so thanks, Edwin. Thanks for making me spend money. But anyway, completely transform the car. Let us know in the comments below. If you had to choose one mod we did today, what would it be? Anyway, once again, my name is Brian. That's Zach behind the camera. Thanks for watching Kies Motorsports. If you like our videos, give us a thumbs up, make sure to subscribe. And for all these parts and much more, visit us at kiesmotorsports.com. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you in the next video.